The Dems could never get me, Tim. No matter what happens, they'll never get me.
Never?
Never. But I have friends that
Not even like John Bell Edwards, who couldn't give you like one.
Well, so that's where I'm going, though, because they could never get me, but I have friends that I think they probably could, under the right circumstances.
Can I ask you, like, why? Why there's no way they could ever get you? Like, is there a specific issue? Or is it like
several.
I
I don't feel there is any common ground anymore between myself and anyone running on a Democratic platform.
This is a very, very frustrating clip, but it's also very revealing. First, the major players, Tim Miller of The Bulwark, who's a guest on the show, hosted by PFT commenter and also former NFL running back Arian Foster. But the man of the hour is another guest, Connor Knapp, a.k.a. Big T, also of Barstool Sports, a very, very important part of this.
But as an evangelical Christian, I find the current state of the Democratic Party just totally opposed to everything I believe.
Got it.
That face right there says it all, doesn't it? Before we break it down fully, one more clip.
Do you think like you would feel like things would be worse with Kamala or better? I'm not trying to do a gotcha. I'm like just generally trying to understand your perspective so I can answer the question.
I think worse, but not tangibly, probably about the same. I could never vote for a Democrat who I could never vote for someone like that.
Who what? A Democrat who what?
Who is vehemently opposed to my worldview.
On what topics though? Like on social issues, economic, foreign policy?
I think economically, it all kind of comes out in the wash at the end.
It is vital to understand a few things here. First, Big T is an evangelical Christian, a voting bloc that leaned heavily into Trump. American Compass says it's at 80%. When Trump is crushing the economy, deporting countless individuals, starting wars he promised not to, evangelicals remained by his side. Now, when we think of prominent evangelical leaders,
the wholesale slaughter of unborn children. We have killed over 40 million unborn babies in America. Have we found that we are unable somehow to defend ourselves against some of the attacks that are coming against us, either by terrorists or now by natural disasters?
Pat Robertson is at the top of the list. What has he said about the LGBTQ plus community?
I am not at all persuaded that so-called homosexuals are homosexuals because of biological problems. There may be a very few, but there's so many that have been made homosexuals because of a coach or
And what did he say about Muslim people?
My wife has become a real problem. She has no respect for me as the head of the house. She insults me. She even went as far as stretching her hand to beat me. I've lost my self-confidence. Her words hurt so much, and she refuses to talk through our problems. Please tell me what I can do.
Well, you could become a Muslim, then you could beat her.
How about critical race theory?
The people of color have to rise up and overtake their oppressors, and then, having gotten the whip handle, if I can use that term, then to instruct their white neighbors how to behave. Now that's critical race theory.
Oh, and Jewish people.
What is it about Jewish people that make them prosper financially? Well, you'll almost never find Jews tinkering with their cars on the weekends or mowing their lawns.
That is the influence. Robertson is widely credited with ushering Christian conservatism into mainstream politics in the 80s and 90s. He laid the groundwork for the modern right-wing culture war. He has a history of extreme, bigoted commentary, including gay people and abortion caused 9/11, Haitians deserved the 2010 earthquake, and that feminists are evil. But of course, he is not alone.
What we saw on Tuesday, as terrible as it is, could be minuscule if in fact God continues to lift the curtain and allow the enemies of America to give us probably what we deserve. I really believe that the pagans and the abortionists and the feminists and the gays and the lesbians who are actively trying to make that an alternative lifestyle, the ACLU, People for the American Way, all of them who tried to secularize America, I point the finger in their face and say, you helped this happen.
Well, I totally concur.
Televangelist Jerry Falwell Sr. must be in the conversation. Take a wild guess what he said about Martin Luther King Jr. and MLK Day.
Why
I
not?
don't think we need any more holidays.
Why not a Martin Luther King Day?
I just feel that there are other black Americans and the corporate body of black Americans who are due honor more than one recent individual about whom there's a great question mark even to this moment.
What is the question mark?
The question mark is that so far all the records on him are sealed. And neither you, Tom, nor I really know what they're going to say.
Are you talking about his personal character,
Yes,
his
that's
personal
correct.
morality, and his personal life,
And he may
as well
be
as any connection?
He may be as clean as Billy Graham, but we don't know that because the records are sealed.
How about his rhetoric on finances?
Whenever I'm counseling a couple who's having financial difficulties, I'll say, give me your budget now. What's your income? How much you're spending? Where are you putting it? And if I don't see tithes and offerings at the top, I'll say, there's your problem right there. You're robbing from God. Oh, we can't afford right now, Pastor. No, you can't afford not to. If you need a miracle, you better put the miracle working God in your budget. I've never led people into that they can come back a few months later and say, I don't know how it works, but it does. I don't know how in the world. Well, I give more to God and have less to keep. I wind up with more. That's spiritual mathematics.
Of course, all this was passed down to his son.
I've always thought if more good people had concealed carry permits, then we could end those Muslims before they walk in and kill us.
Thus, would it shock you if this happened?
Jerry Falwell Jr., one of America's most prominent evangelical leaders, went on TV to describe his own tweet.
Mask, and I said, fine. Starting Friday, we all have to wear masks in Virginia. I said, fine, I'll reluctantly wear it, but only if it's got a picture of Governor Blackface on the mask.
They founded Liberty University. For many black students, it was a tough place to be. Asia Todd, a basketball player, would transfer after Falwell Jr.'s racist tweets. She'd cite racial insensitivity shown within the leadership and culture not aligning with her moral compass or personal convictions. This was the norm, and they despised being labeled or called racist.
To not lose this point of views on slavery and white supremacy, the kind of neo-Confederate movement that we see, there has been a lot of kind of overlap between some, not all, but some of these conservative right-wing traditions. And Robert Dabney is a 19th century theologian, a white supremacist who remains popular in these spaces. And, Doug Wilson perpetuates some of these ideas. Many others do as well. Many evangelicals do not embrace explicit racism. Instead, they have embraced what goes by the name of kind of colorblindness.
Kristen Kobas-Dumais, author of Jesus and John Wayne, How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation, would educate the masses. That interview can be found on demand right here. And in my view, it is a must-watch to understand the politics of evangelicals. On the colorblind point,
or this one, I don't see color. And when some woman says to me, I don't see color, I say, I knew that if you saw color, you wouldn't dye your hair that way. Or I say, if you saw color, you wouldn't wear that shirt with those pants. I believe that you don't see color. It's an attempt to deny skin color. And it's an attempt to deny what's wrong with seeing the color of my skin.
Not only is it a cop-out.
These data would seem to directly invalidate the assumption of two varieties of colorblindness, the egalitarian and the protectionistic, who assume we're living in a post-racial society. We are clearly not. Social scientists have conducted approximately 35 years of research on this topic. If we look at just the basic lists of interracial inequalities, that slide that I just showed, colorblind racism, or colorblindness in general, tends to distract our attention and to create ignorance regarding these inequalities. So it's masking the problem that exists.
Not only is it flat out BS, but it is an absolute tell for evangelicals.
It becomes very difficult to talk about anything like structural inequality. It becomes very difficult to talk about racism because you aren't supposed to. When you bring up race, that is divisive. So don't talk about race. So what this ends up doing is the moderates, including many, well-intentioned people who are not reactionary extremists, at least, not knowingly so, end up giving cover to the explicit racists. And then when people are calling out the explicit racism inside these spaces, it's often the moderates who take offense. How dare you? How dare you call us racist. You know, we are not racist. And you can just see then how this fuels this radicalization and builds this sense of resentment.
Before going further, if you want to help keep this channel afloat, you can become a YouTube member or you can check out the description box below for Buy Me a Coffee and much more. So not to be outdone, the women at Liberty University, for example, it was not a home away from home.
A new report suggests that a major university has a major problem when it comes to reporting sexual assault on campus, according to over 50 former female students and staffers. According to a new Blockbuster report in ProPublica, in many cases, Liberty University threatened the women brave enough to come forward with its own code of conduct or face being fined or expelled just for reporting a rape. And get this, 3 women say they were forced to sign forms admitting they may have violated the school's code of conduct after they sought to file sexual assault complaints. That code is called Liberty Way, and it includes bans on drinking and being in any state of undress with a member of the opposite sex. Yes, a rape victim violated that part of the code. Others say they were flat out warned against reporting it altogether, with Liberty University police officers even dissuading them from pursuing charges.
Sadly, it follows a pattern of very extremist views within the movement.
They actually do want to restructure society along their understanding of God's laws, along patriarchal family structure, patriarchal heterosexual family structure, right? They will argue that, no, that America was founded as a Christian nation. Some will even go so far as to say the founding documents were directly inspired by God. So then you have to see, well, how do they interpret God's law in terms of gender, in terms of patriarchy, in terms of anti-LGBTQ? They will have an answer on everything, including on the economy, by the way.
And look no further than this prominent evangelical athlete on the Kansas City Chiefs.
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
And there is another very, and I do mean very important figure to bring up.
Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome. Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
From none other than Paul Weyrich, the founder of the Heritage Foundation, which brought us the diabolical Project 2025.
While abortion is often cited as the reason evangelical Christians became politically active in the 1970s, historian Randall Ballmer points to another important moment.
Weyrich had been trying to mobilize evangelical voters and has said on many occasions, including to me personally, he said, I tried everything to get them involved in politics. I tried the abortion issue, I tried the women's rights issue, I tried pornography. Nothing got their attention, that is the attention of evangelical leaders, until the IRS began to pursue the tax exemption of racially segregated schools.
Many of those schools were private Christian schools created as a response to integration, and some schools and colleges still barred black students or interracial dating.
Via AmericansUnited.org, Weyrich and his allies selected and popularized abortion as a wedge issue to mobilize a coalition that was collapsing after Brown v. Board desegregated public education. He founded ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, to pump out regressive legislation in the states To say that he played a major role even feels like an understatement because he crafted how we got to where we are today.
I want to talk a little bit about how much our family respects and admires Paul Weyrich.
I want to be like Paul Weyrich when I grow up.
Paul Weyrich has been called the main architect of the religious right. Here he is in 2005.
Those people were not active in politics, and I served as sort of a coach to get them active in the political process.
He managed to galvanize the evangelical vote around a man who wasn't even an evangelical. Does that feel familiar? Because a similar thing happened in 2016 with the election of President Donald Trump.
2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17. That's the whole ball game. Is that the one? Is that the one you like? I think that's the one you like because I loved it.
Thus, when I see Big T say, "They'll never get me," and he mentions his faith, predominantly this is what they believe. Women should be homemakers and have a role that dates back to when they had less rights. Abortion is evil. Black folks are inferior. Black and brown people are inferior. And former President Barack Obama?
This is where you can see the right wing really double down. And they set out really to destroy his presidency. You see the birther movement really take hold inside conservative evangelical spaces. Inside those spaces, you have a lot of conservative white evangelical pastors also promoting, this conspiracy. And so there's this, what feels like a sea change, but just a sense, increasingly so, that white evangelicals had already lost the culture wars. And this is when you start to see an explicit abandonment of any commitment to democracy.
Thus, when Kamala Harris was brought up, you must make mention and understand all of the things that we have brought to you in this clip. It is all encompassing.
I could never vote for someone like that.
Who what? A Democrat who what?
Who is vehemently opposed to my worldview. But as an evangelical Christian, I find the current state of the Democratic Party just totally opposed to everything I believe.
Got it.